Hello everybody and welcome to yet another episode of the Calcio Show. I'm Alfredo and as always, I'm joined by my incredible co-host, Luca. How are we?
I'm doing good, man. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm alright. It's been a busy week of football.
A lot of stuff to talk about.
Yeah, a lot of stuff. It's been about a week and a half since we kind of debriefed the disaster of the Italian national team.
Yeah, but now it's time to talk about club side.
Yep, so I think we should start last Sunday, the Milan derby. That was quite surprising, actually. Not surprising if you look at the recent form of Milan in the derby, but going into it, I thought Milan would kind of finally meet their match this season and play a team who were just better than them, player for player. But once again, Mr. Max Allegri kind of gave a big fuck you to everyone and their predictions, and Milan got a huge win against Inter.
Massive win. I think going into it, we all agreed, us two, agreed that Inter were the favourites going into it. I think on the day of the game as well, Inter definitely outplayed them, in my opinion. They had the better chances. But AC Milan were strong defensively. Of course, Magic Mike Maignan with an incredible performance. And, bro, we did the head-to-head before the game on the shorts. You picked Summer over him. Comments were cooking you.
Yeah.
And
rightfully so.
Rightfully so.
I was picking it based on availability. The best ability is availability, right? And Maignan spent half his career on the doctor's table. Nonetheless, Maignan was absolutely...
Yeah,
fantastic.
On that day, he was just... he saved the penalty.
That save against Thuram in the second minute where
even
he
on
Lautaro. Yeah.
Mate, he was excellent.
He was outstanding.
And they had one chance they scored. It's classic Allegri football, really, but it worked. And one thing I can't fault AC Milan this season is in head-to-heads, they've been the best team by a mile. They've beaten Roma, they've beaten Napoli, they've beaten Inter, they drew away at Juventus, and they only drew because of the penalty mess. Yeah. They've been excellent in the head-to-heads, and I think it'll be interesting to touch upon because defence wins you league titles. They don't have the best defence, Roma do, but also head-to-heads win you league titles. Because if you win those big head-to-heads, you've got a great chance winning the Scudetto. And AC Milan right now, they're in a great position.
Well, on the flip side of that as well, you got Inter, who have lost against Milan, lost against Napoli.
And us.
And lost against Juventus. Their three big games they've played this year, they've lost all three. And that's actually bled into Europe because their first big game in Europe as well, they also lost against Atletico Madrid a few days ago.
It's not great signs. No. However, I'm not going to count them out of the Scudetto race, of course, but you're not confident.
Well, you know what? They're not. Funnily enough, despite losing those three games, those huge games, they're still not that far behind the rest, the leading pack, which I think also is kind of testament to how there's not one standout leader in Serie A this year, certainly not at the moment anyway. There's not one team. Everyone's kind of dropping a few points here and there to allow the other teams a chance. But from what I've seen, I think what Inter lack at the moment, I think Inter look a bit soft, to be honest. I think they look... I mean, if you look at their recent derby record, it's poor. I think they've lost 4 of 6. And if you look at even the big games, a lot of the big games they played last year, they struggled to get over the line. Obviously, you had the Champions League final. You've had all the big games this year.
The Supercoppa.
Yep. And now you had the game against Atletico Madrid following the derby, which, again, Inter played really well. That first half, I thought they played really well. But silly mistakes in midfield, silly mistakes at the back. Again, we can touch upon Bastoni maybe later about how, him being the face of your defence and leading your defence, I don't think is a great thing. But they just look like they don't have what it takes at the moment to really get it over the line. Something that you don't really associate with this kind of current crop of Inter players. But yeah, I think they just look a bit mentally weak at the moment.
Yeah, interesting points you raised, to be fair. And I can definitely understand where you're coming from. So you don't think that in the long run, come April, May, they're not going to be in and around first, second, challenging, you don't reckon?
Not if they carry on this record against big teams. Like you said, you can't... It's not... if you don't beat your competitors, and if you... Not even beat, if you keep losing to your competitors, you're not going to be in the title race.
Yeah, that's true. Because otherwise you need to hope that they drop points, and that rarely happens.
And so for me at the moment, I think Milan and Napoli do look like the standout. I would still probably make Napoli favourites, especially now that Conte's changed back to a 3, and they look a bit more stable. But yeah, I think Inter, I'm not convinced. But Milan, speaking about Milan, and not only how well they played, but forgive me for using the Americanized clutch word, but he is becoming, Pulisic is becoming the most consistent and clutch player in the league.
Yeah, the LeBron James of soccer,
He is.
one guy once called him.
I know. And he is just playing so well. And I
is.
think everyone's probably a bit guilty of, I think with American players, and because of things like the LeBron James of soccer and that kind of thing, I think people, especially in Europe, are maybe a bit guilty of kind of underestimating American footballers a lot of the time. But Pulisic, there is, since he has joined Milan, his goal record, his assist rate, his goal contribution record is outstanding.
Yeah.
And he's doing it more in big games now, which he didn't really do in the first season. But now he's probably Milan's most important player.
Yeah, especially in the big moments, like you said. Now he's turning up.
Yeah.
And it's scary. It's scary. I mean, look, these kind of games. I think AC Milan going into that game, you knew if they were going to get a result from it, it'd be ragged. It'd be rough. It wouldn't be pretty whatsoever. And that was a staple Allegri result, and they got over the line. And not only was Pulisic excellent, but I think we have to touch upon maybe, one of the most underrated signings of the summer, Terry Silva Rabiot to AC Milan.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, we're very familiar with Mr. Terry Silva Rabiot, a guy that definitely, I would say, divided opinions when he was at Juventus. A guy that came for free, was so frustrating for the first two and a half seasons. Nah, really 3 seasons. Yeah, bro.
His entire tenure at Juventus.
I would say, like, Rabiot, he was so subpar up until that run before the World Cup.
Yeah.
In that 22-23 season. That was his last year of his contract, and then he renewed it for an extra year, 23-24. We won the Coppa Italia. Then he went to Marseille, right? But apart from those first 3 seasons, he was so bad for us, in my opinion, right? I never liked him.
Yeah.
And the last 2, he was better, but, bro, he's doing well right now.
But he always... I think what was frustrating from a Juventus fan's point with Rabiot is that you always saw glimpses of his amazing potential. I think it was against AC Milan where he scored that. Do you remember the goal?
Yeah, in
that
lockdown
goal.
Time.
And occasionally he would do things like that. And he had that, like, almost like Thuram-esque ability of, like, driving the ball through midfield. Like,
he's such a good dribbler for his size.
He really is. And he's powerful.
Yeah.
And you saw glimpses of this so often. Yet, just so much of the time, you would watch him and you would think, you are a clown. You honestly, he played like a clown.
He had so many bozo moments.
Oh, he really, really did. But I think what you can't take away from Rabiot is his physical attributes, how powerful and strong and kind of quick he is for a midfielder, and his ability to work hard. Yeah. And if there's 2 things that Mr. Max Allegri likes in a midfielder, it's that.
And I think him and Fofana complement Luka Modric so well because they're going to do the run, and Modric is just like the quarterback. He's the dictator at the base of the 3. And it's a really well-balanced midfield. And yeah, I think how much did Milan buy him for? Like 10 million? It wasn't a lot. It wasn't a lot. And I think it's definitely one of those signings I think is going a bit under the radar. Almost like, it reminds me a bit of the Xhaka to Sunderland. Like, everyone's talking about Xhaka to Sunderland and how good he's been.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Rabiot's been as good as Xhaka has been for that Sunderland team, but still, I think he's been a good signing. And right now, that Milan team looks serious, man. They do look serious. And it looks like Mr. Max Allegri, one of the most dominant managers in Serie A history in terms of Scudetto wins, he could do it again.
They're title contenders. Yeah. They absolutely are. And I think, again, like, we were both very anti-Allegri for a very, very long time.
In the second stint, for me specifically.
But the fact, like, let's put this in simple terms. Max Allegri has a defence of Estupinan, Pavlovic, Gabbia, Tomori and Salamakers. Yeah. And he's leading a title charge with that back 5.
That says a lot.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That really is incredible.
I actually think so far he might be the best performing manager in Europe with the resources he has and where he's at. I think.
It's definitely up there.
Alongside the Sunderland coach too.
Yes. Yeah. They're going to be up there anyway. Now, a quick message to say that the Calcio show is now proudly sponsored by the Soccer Archive, one of the best in the game when it comes to original retro football shirts. Luca, both of us have worked with the Soccer Archive in the past. Tell us a little bit about them.
They are the best company to get retro soccer shirts, retro pieces, memorabilia, even modern day stuff. I got this beautiful 1994 Italy Maldini home shirt from there. We've worked with them for a while. You can get new pieces daily, whether that be online at www.thesoccerarchive.com or in their store at 24 Great Windmill Street in London, Soho. Make sure you go check them out and also go follow them on all social media platforms at The Soccer Archive.
And that's not even the best part, though.
Well, tell me what is.
The best part is that if you buy online using the code TCS10, you can get 10% off your first order with The Soccer Archive.
So you're telling me I can get any Juventus kit I want plus 10% off if I use that code?
You can indeed.
Well then. It's perfect. Make sure you use it, boys. Link will be in the description.
But moving on from that, we then go into midweek.
Champions
League. So I'll let you take over with Juventus on a very cold night in Bodo Glimt.
Mate, honestly, I wish I was there. And I say that because I love football in the snow.
Really?
Bit random, but I love the aesthetic. You remember when Juventus played Atalanta like a good few years ago, like 2017, 2018? Like, there's something about football in the snow that was magical. But their game didn't start off very magical whatsoever.
No, absolutely.
That first half from Juventus was so subpar. It was insane. It was like, I understand Bodo Glimt is not an easy place to go to. Because
and history, again, like Roma, Lazio.
I think they lost 6-1 Roma there.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
And they knocked Lazio out of the quarterfinals of the Europa League.
Bodo Glimt is not an easy walkover team, especially when you have to go to Norway. It's artificial grass as well, which is very different to what traditional football is played on.
I mean, Cambiaso said he hadn't played on artificial pitch since he was 17.
It's true though. No one plays on artificial.
No.
Obviously, they have to because of the climate, so I understand. But it's a tough place to go. And they're actually a decent side, to be fair. They were set up quite well. We go 1-0 down. The first half is looking very bleak. We're creating absolutely nothing. And one man changed the game, as he always does. Mr. Kenan Yildiz, our best player, our Superman, let's say. When times are rough, who's going to bail us out of trouble? It's the Turk. And honestly, that is one of the best, I think, 45 minutes I've seen from a Juventus player in so long. Yeah. He changed that game. He was involved in every single goal. All three of them came from him. The disallowed goal, beautiful assist to Miretti as well, that came from him. He was pushing, he was relentless, he was creative, he wanted to be on the ball. He's a brave player. We've spoken about this so many times. He's not shy, he wants the ball. He demands the ball in every single sense. I remember just one random moment in the game, I can't point it out, right? It was early in the second half, we were still losing. Locatelli is taking a bit of time on the ball, and I see like Kenan. As he does, yeah. I see Kenan in the bottom left screen just shouting, arms up, give me the ball. Like, he's our best player, bro. He's so good at football. And, it's an honour to have him and a privilege, but he changed the game and we win it. In the end, look, a bit fortunate, of course. It fell to Jonathan David. But look, 3 points is 3 points. We needed the 3 points. Vital. And also, man, I'm sure we'll touch upon other people, but Cabal, what is that defending on the penalty? Come on, bro.
I think there's a lot of individual performances that when you just said about Locatelli taking his time.
No, but he did, bro.
It's just so like symptomatic. Again, I do like Locatelli, but like if there's one flaw to his game, it's just he doesn't move the ball quicker. It just made me laugh that you said that.
I wish I could like point it out. He was screaming.
But yeah, Cabal again I thought Cabal really struggled. Adzic, obviously, I felt really bad for Adzic.
He was out of position as well.
He was out of position, but that was, much like you said, Yildiz had one of the best 45s you've ever seen. Yeah. Adzic, arguably one of the worst. Like he really, really did struggle. I thought Miretti really struggled in the first half as well.
Second half,
but then he did look better in the second half. But yeah, I think these games against Bodo Glimt, when you're playing away on a smaller artificial pitch in conditions that were like, I think the air was like -3 or something silly like that.
It's nuts.
You're always going to struggle. Like it's not even necessarily, it's not the same as playing on a regular pitch. So I think the most important thing was just to come out there with 3 points. It didn't really matter how Juventus won that game.
Yeah.
It just had to be 3 points. Really, really vital. And that's what they did. I think I'm still, as time goes on with this Juventus team, or Spalletti takes charge of more games, I'm starting to feel a bit more sorry for Tudor, because I'm not sure
what he could have done.
I don't know what more he could have got out of this team, and I'm not sure how much Spalletti is going to be able to get out of this team.
I think Spalletti's I agree with you. I think Spalletti has done well though so far, and he's I think against I don't want to say it was, obviously we said it was all down to Yildiz, but I reckon Spalletti definitely gave a good halftime team talk, because the whole team in general, I feel, really raised the urgency.
Yeah.
They looked more determined in that second half.
Do you think he was waffling at half time?
Uh,
He was philosophizing.
Probably, yeah.
He was getting quotes out.
Yeah, a couple Shakespeare, Picasso maybe. Throwing a Dante one.
But yeah, I think, like you said, most importantly, the win.
Yeah.
3 points. So vital.
Because we got Paphos coming up, Benfica and Monaco.
Monaco.
We need to win 2 out of those 3 to solidify top 24, which is doable. Paphos should be easy
absolutely.
win at home. Benfica, we have a horrible record against. Monaco away, they've struggled a lot this season in the league. But again, storyline there of Paul Labelle.
Labille is back.
Too many storylines. I hate storylines.
Pogba 4.0.
Whatever it is. But yeah, no, playing against Paul Labelle will be interesting to see. But yeah, look, they're not easy walkover teams. Everyone in the Champions League is there for a reason, but it's very doable to get playoffs, and then obviously depending on who we face there, we'll have to see. But
we'll see what happens.
Yeah, because last year PSV they booted us out. We expected to win that, but so such an important 3 points, and I think Kenan was the star of the show. But it's also good that Openda and David got off the mark because we needed them to score.
Yeah, absolutely. They were both overdue, really. Yeah. David's first goal since the first game of the season, and Openda's first.
Openda's first,
yeah.
Also, Koopmeiners, I thought, played really well at the back.
Yes. Actually, shout out to Koopmeiners because we've given him a lot of probably not grief, but we have called him out a few times for not playing at the level that his price tag suggests, and that's not his fault. He didn't pay that money. Juventus did. But since moving into that centre back role, I think he's looked a lot more comfortable. It's really interesting that Spalletti's chosen to do that. And he looks like, I think maybe because he's changed position, it looks like he's playing with a bit more freedom, like a weight is off his shoulder. Because like we said before, he looked like he was playing. He looked like he was playing with 30 million on this shoulder and 30 million on this shoulder before. He really didn't look like the Koopmeiners we saw at Atalanta. So yeah, if Spalletti can get a ring out of him at centre-back, I'm absolutely fine with that.
Same as me. Yeah. Same as me. As for the other Italian teams, it's actually a good week for Italian football in Europe.
Really good.
Bar Inter. They lost to Atletico Madrid. We touched upon them earlier. What did you think about that? Because I know you watched Inter Atletico.
Yeah, I mean, Inter, again, like I spoke about earlier about how soft they've been in big matches. Inter started really well. Like they were playing some really lovely football, like knocking the ball around as well as I've seen them do this season. All over Atletico Madrid for the first 10 minutes, and then a silly lapse of judgment at the back, and before they knew it, they're 1-0 down. Got themselves back into the game and probably deserved a draw out of the game, if I'm being totally honest. But again, like this, just Atletico lobbing in a set piece in the 93rd minute when you need to be on you need to be in the game. Your heads need to be in the game. And I just feel like Inter, recently in these big matches, I don't know if it's a hangover from the Champions League final, because in these big European games last year, they were fantastic. Big games in Serie A last year, they did struggle somewhat. And I don't know if it's just that their confidence has been knocked. And whereas the Inter we knew before they had grit and they were a bit more stoic. And if they needed to get things over the line, they generally did. But that game against Atletico was just super disappointing if you were watching it as a Serie A fan or as an Inter fan. For them not to at least get a point from that game was criminal. And I wanted to touch upon Bastoni because there's been a lot of talk about Bastoni recently. And, I think over the last year, thanks to Stunt Peg, Neve, going on Soccer Saturday.
Yeah, she loves him.
And saying how Bastoni is world class. As the weeks go on, I am less convinced that Bastoni is a world class footballer. Because I think Bastoni lacks the defensive fundamentals.
First of all, bro, sorry to interject. What's your definition of world class?
My definition of this is where I feel like I fall into a bit of a grey area.
Okay.
Because I think to be world class, I think you have to be at least like the 4 or 5 best in your position in the world.
Okay, so this is interesting then. Who are your top 5 centre halves in the world, or really in Europe right now?
So I would take I'd still take Van Dijk over Bastoni. I think the 2 boys at Arsenal, Gabriel, Saliba. I would probably take Romero over Bastoni. I really like Romero. Rudiger, I would still probably take over Bastoni.
Any of the young ones, Kobasi, Huijsen.
Yeah, I mean, Kobasi I do like. But even then, I think you're getting into the territory of players who are quite similar to Bastoni in the sense that I think Huijsen actually reminds me a lot of Bastoni in the fact that he's fantastic with his feet, but I think he lacks a physical. He lacks the ability to impose himself. He lacks the ability to impose himself physically. And when I watch Bastoni of late, again, I don't think there's a better ball-playing centre-back in the world than Bastoni. Maybe Van Dijk's up there. When it comes to passing and progressing the ball, Bastoni is elite. He is world-class. If we're talking about systematically, in that inter-system, he is a world-class defender. However, I don't think he can lead a defence. I worry about him playing in the four-man defence. I don't think he, again, is physically imposing enough as a defender. I mean, I think Simeone's son, Giuliano, who's about 5'9", beat him to about 3 or 4 headers the other day. And I just think he looks laborious and slow defending sometimes. And I compare him to a Gabriel or a Saliba or a Van Dijk in those one-on-one situations. And I don't think he comes close. I really don't. And that's where I begin to think, in a do-or-die game where your backs are like against the wall, would I really want Bastoni leading my back line?
I see what you mean. I hear what you're saying, because even for the national team, he's looked very, very shaky. And I don't think he's had a great start to the season. So I think questions definitely need to be asked. I almost feel like sometimes with football, right, we fail to acknowledge, not like, I don't want to use the word decline, it's kind of the wrong thing, but like, yeah, a bit of the decline of certain footballers that we almost had on a pedestal for so long and deemed as world-class or elite for whatever reasons. And I think Bastoni's been deemed that by a lot of football fans for like the last three odd years, I would say. Yeah. Almost like Barella, right? These guys that have been, these Inter players that have been at the top of European football for quite a while. So almost seeing small lapses and small declines, we don't really want to acknowledge, and we say, yeah, it's just a blip. But I think Bastoni overall this season so far, he's shown it too much.
Yeah, and he looks, and a lot of the times, one-on-one defending especially, he can let people, a bit like D-Law, like he can let people just breeze by him with ease. And I don't know if this is maybe a bit of a hangover from that. I mean, because I think, again, what...
Are you saying it's a mental thing?
Maybe. I mean, to get beat 5-0 in the biggest game of your career, Bastoni didn't play in the Euros final. We didn't even come on. That was the biggest game of Bastoni's career up to now.
2023 UCL final?
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah. But even then, Inter probably thought they had a better chance against PSG than they did against Man City.
Probably.
Biggest game of his career, and to get beat 5-0, like an embarrassment, like in front of the world watching, that's not an easy thing to take. So yeah, I'm just a bit dubious on Bastoni at the moment. I hope he picks up, because we both know what defender he can be.
As for Napoli
were absolutely outstanding. Absolutely, they were so good, and I really hope that Palladino can get them back in a position, because look at their team. They've got such a talented side. They've got so many. There's so many players left over from the Europa League final that they won. They should be challenging. They should be near the top. They shouldn't have teams like Como ahead of them. So I really hope Palladino can get them in a good place. And Napoli, that man again,
Scott Mctominay against Karabakh. And by the way, those guys, they're no mugs. They're tied on points with Barca in the UCL. I think they have a point above us as well, so they're not an easy team to beat. So yeah, it's annoying that they have a point above us. Kind of crazy, but still.
But yeah, that man again, Scott McTominay is different gravy. He is. Is
he world class?
This is a really interesting question, isn't it? Because I think I spoke about this a few weeks ago. He's been playing at a world-class level for like a year now, maybe a year and a half. Is he a world-class footballer? But then because then I've said I don't think he's a world-class.
Yes or no?
Yeah, I don't think he... Okay. Scott McTominay is not... What do you think? Let me ask you. You keep asking me. How about you? How about you answer the question? Asking me tough questions.
No.
Okay.
But I understand. Performance-wise, yes. But there's just something about those kind of players. It's like Immobile. It's like he scored 4... He won European Golden Boot. I still wouldn't say he was world-class. It was like... I think McTominay is great. I think he's a really, really good system player. And I think under Antonio Conte, for example, that's the best That's like the ideal manager for a player like Scott McTominay to flourish and show his full potential and show to the world how good he really is, right? But I also want to say, like, it very much depends on where he plays. Because I want to say a lot of times, like, world-class midfielders are versatile. We saw at the start of the season when Scott was playing off the left, when De Bruyne was in the team, it wasn't really working too well. Now De Bruyne is injured. You've seen him raise that level. But I feel like with midfielders, sometimes a lot of like the really world-class, the truly world-class players can adapt to different systems, adapt to different roles. And naturally, I'm not having a dig at McTominay here, but I just think it's hard for me to classify him as world-class.
I know.
It really is.
Because of players you think are better than him also.
Exactly. And I can name like a good amount of midfielders that I would rather have than Scott McTominay. Even in the Serie A, there's a few that I would still take over him. So
yeah, that's fair. But not to take away that his level over the last 12, 16 months has been world class. And you know what? His run at the moment, we've taken his run from last year and his run like going into this year, really reminds me of. Do you remember when Bellingham started at Madrid?
Yeah.
And he was just, none of the goals were particularly like pretty, but he was just always there in the right time when it mattered most. And that is McTominay in a nutshell for Napoli. That second goal against Karabakh the other day, like, again, another overhead kick, by the way. The guy just loves overhead kicks at the moment. But that overhead kick was going about 2 yards wide, bounced off a Karabakh player and went in. And also it's a kind of like, when you're playing at that level, like, things just go for you. I think things are really going for McTominay
it's
at the
like
moment.
Flow state.
Yeah, it really is. And you watch McTominay sometimes, and again, on the ball, it's nothing like that you haven't seen before. But he's just always there.
Yeah,
a bit like Bellingham was when he started at Madrid, and it's just...
But at the end of the day, if you're a difference maker...
You're a difference maker.
You're a difference maker, and that's world class. So it's one of those where it's like, this Napoli resurgence in the last few weeks has been very, very interesting to see, and I think Scott has almost come into his own again. The Scott McTominay we were used to from last season, and I think it's also partially down to De Bruyne not being in the team, and the system's almost changed to favour him. I think again he's the main man in the middle of the park, and Napoli have a massive game this weekend against the league leaders at the minute in Roma. In the capital at the Olimpico, not an easy place to go. Of course, Roma right now have the best defence in the league, and they've been excellent as well. So it's going to be a really interesting game. I'm really looking forward to that. But what are your thoughts on that? Well,
it's interesting now that Napoli have changed back to a 3, how it's going to kind of line up stylistically. And just before we move on to that, I just wanted to... This is a little question about when you mentioned De Bruyne not being there and how that's freed McTominay up. Does that give Conte... Does that make Conte think, oh shit, when De Bruyne is back, what do I do?
Yeah, I think so.
Because when De Bruyne was there, McTominay...
Yeah.
But
I think just quickly to answer that, I think you need McTominay more informed than De Bruyne.
Sad, but it's true.
It's true. Right now.
It really is true. Right now.
De Bruyne is physically not there.
No. But yeah, so going into this game, I think this is going to be incredibly tight. I think both managers would be happy with a draw, where they both are in the table at the moment and how much of the season is left to go. I think both will be happy for a draw. If I had to put money on it, despite Roma having one of the best defences in the season, best defence in the league this season, when I've watched Napoli in the second half against Karabakh and at the weekend, since they've changed to a 3 at the back, I do think they look a lot better going forward. They look like they're creating more chances. So if I had to put money on it, I would say probably a draw.
Yeah. But
I would probably edge it to Napoli as favourites.
I agree. I think it's going to be a draw. I think these like big... I don't know. Maybe it's just me, right? But these big games at the Olimpico never live up to the hype.
Always dry.
Always. It's not like the San Siro or the Juventus Stadium or the Maradona where like the big games, they're interesting there. They're always dry at the Olimpico. I see like a 0-0, genuinely. But I don't think... We can call it a title decide. I don't think it is. Like
no,
you said,
not
there's
this stage.
there's so many more games and there's so long of the season left to play. But it would just be interesting to see where they're at, because Roma in big games, their head-to-head hasn't been incredible this year. I think they beat Lazio. They lost to Milan. Have they faced anyone else yet?
They're the 2 main ones.
2 main ones, yeah. They haven't faced Arsenal or Inter yet. But if they get a win here, that's a massive statement for Gasperini's men, and I think it would be a big blow to Napoli as well if they were to lose it. But if I had to bet on a team to win, I would agree. I would say Napoli, but I think it's got a draw written all over it.
It'll be interesting to see what Roma do as well, because last week he started Baldanzi as a false 9. Then obviously Ferguson came on, scored his first goal of the season.
Took him long enough.
But I liked Baldanzi as a false 9 in the first half. I thought they looked quite good. But like I said, Napoli, since going to a 3 at the back, Buongiorno, Bukama, and Romani. I think they've looked a lot better. So we shall see.
Interesting stuff. Let us know in the comment section, guys, your predictions for the Napoli-Roma game. What your thoughts were on the derby, the performances from the Italian teams in the UCL. Who's going to go through in the Champions League regarding the Italian teams. And make sure you also follow us on all social media accounts. The links will be down below.
And we'll see you next time.